All right, spawning here at the bottom right, or sorry, bottom left. He is the red Protoss playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is ZEST.
And his opponent spawning here in the top right corner of the map, also playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, so we do have a bit of a team kill here in the finals. It is his teammate, Dark.
As you mentioned, both from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, so there are nice teammates. Unfortunately, they do meet here in the finals, so one of them will have to knock one or the other one out. Now, speaking of Dragon Phoenix Gaming, I'm not sure if you heard this, but a few days ago, or I think 1 or 2 days ago, Dragon Phoenix Gaming actually signed Hero.
Oh, very cool. I did not hear. Very exciting.
Yeah, so Hero, of course, he went off to the military. He is returning, and or he returned, and yeah, Dragon Phoenix Gaming has signed up Hero, and that's a good thing because ZEST specifically, I believe his military service is going to be coming in the near future. So they're going to lose a very strong Protoss in ZEST, but they can replace that or kind of deal less blow by signing another strong Protoss in Hero.
Yeah, no, that is really exciting. It's always nice to see former players who, you know, of course, have had to commit to their military service in Korea coming back to the scene. I think that is always a treat to see. For example, we did see DRG coming back. That was a pretty exciting moment in StarCraft when he announced that he was coming back. So, like you said, of course, with ZEST leaving for the military, Protosses are going to have to sort of supplement that with Hero's return.
Yeah, and not only is Hero, but I believe, Classic is also coming back very soon. So another strong Protoss. Now, I'm not sure which team is going to sign him. I would imagine Dragon Phoenix Gaming not going to sign him because they already have Hero, and then also, you know, they have a bunch of other players. Their lineup is actually pretty deep. So I think probably another team will be signing Classic, but yeah, we'll see. Of course, the news should be posted once Classic does return.
Yeah, definitely. Very exciting. Now, like you mentioned, Dragon Phoenix Gaming, obviously one of the, I would say, the strongest teams right now in Korea, right? We've got just so many top tier players on that team. They kind of remind me in a way of Jin Air Green Wings, you know, from the old days, which is just, you know, rest in peace. I hope that, you know, they find peace and happiness. And of course, you know, all of the players have moved on to either different teams or just, you know, moved on to different stages in life, and that's great. But it was a very sad day to see that Jin Air Green Wings was disbanding. So knock on wood, you know, that doesn't happen to Dragon Phoenix Gaming or any of the other teams in Korea, because they are, you know, always a treat to watch and to support.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you as well. I think Dragon Phoenix Gaming is probably the most stacked team right now. I mean, you look at Dark, you look at Rogue, you look at ZEST, you look at Hero. I mean, they have a, and I think here as well. So they have a incredible diverse in terms of races, as well as very stacked team in terms of their skill level. So very accomplished across the board, and they're definitely a team to contend with.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we do see that the Oracle is coming in here, trying to deal a little bit of damage. Actually does get a couple of kills, but obviously very low on health, is going to have to get on out of there. So, of course, in this game, ZEST did go for that Stargate opening. So, pretty defensive. We do see that third Nexus coming up at pretty early time, actually. Probably going to finish up before the 5-minute mark. So, pretty quick. Very nice sort of macro build coming out of ZEST. We do see the Blink Stalker follow up. At the same time, his opponent, Dark, is allowed sort of to just drone up like crazy. So not really going to face anything early here at the 5-minute mark. We do see a pretty cheeky Very cheeky Stasis Ward coming out of the Oracle in the main. Obviously is not going to be able to stop any of the drones from mining, as Dark did see them in time and was able to detonate that Stasis Ward with a couple of his lings. So very passive sort of early stages of the game for now. We're going to have to wait and see what these players commit to later on in the game.
Yeah, both players are just kind of playing the mid game here, just building up, not looking to attack or harass, just kind of droning up on Dark side, probing up on ZEST's side, as well as hitting a bunch of structures here, some production buildings. I see a lot of them coming down actually. So let's see here, a total of 8 gateways on the field for ZEST. So we might actually see I think this is going to line up really well with +1 as well as Blink and the Warp Prism. I think we can very well see a mass sentry Blink Stalker type of timing attack coming out of ZEST.
Yeah, I like this a lot actually, because if we take a look at ZEST's third base, he's got a fully saturated mineral line and one of those 2 gases. He's actually taking the second gas as we speak. So he's going to have a full 3-base eco to sort of fight this off of, right? And he's got a bunch of sentries. Like you said, they're moving out. +1 and Blink are going to finish. So this could have the potential to do a lot of damage, because the Zerg doesn't look like they're too ready. Now they are starting up a bunch of lings, so as long as they defend with the first wave and then they can get out their second wave of larva, it does look like they will be able to defend. But I do like this timing coming out of ZEST. Not very sort of what you would see typically, but we do see the first set of force fields going down. Now we do see Ravagers on the field able to bile down and combat those force fields as well. So moving pretty far forward and biling down that Warp Prism as well. Not quite able to get the kill on it, but of course we do see that ZEST is caught a little bit off guard, as he was not expecting the Zerg to push so far forward. Recall actually forced, so this attack, while we were praising it earlier, it does not look like it found the damage that it wanted to. So a little bit unfortunate for ZEST.
Yeah, and losing a lot of sentries during that engagement too, which means all those sentries with the energy, that means less force field, less Guardian Shield. And so that's a lot of investment into gas that you can't take back. And I mean, it was a difficult attack to go through, or as I should say, pathway, because that path into that 4th base is just, it's a little bit more wide open than one would like. So it was kind of hard to force field. As you can see, it took like 4 to 5 force fields to kind of close off or segment off some of these Zerg units. But with the Ravagers there, they can kind of break off those force fields pretty easily.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point. Now that I look back on it, that was a pretty wide ramp that ZEST engaged in. Maybe he was looking to sort of catch his opponent off guard, which was not the case. Dark was on top of it. Now, a nice 5th base cancel from our Protoss, but he is actually going to get outflanked by these Lings. Now, of course, just Lings and just Ravagers are not what you want out on the field without creep, and of course these charge lots are going to get the surround on a lot of these Ravagers. So all of a sudden ZEST is looking favored in this follow-up engagement. The 4th base is evacuated, and so many charge lots as ZEST is becoming very well known for. A bunch of drones going down as well, and those Banelings are not going to finish up in time. I don't think the damage has been done. Banelings are going to get some nice connections on these charge lots in the front, but of course another Warp Prism can come out and do the follow-up. We do see some nice force fields. Like you said, it takes 4 of them to cordon off that complete ramp. But, you know, finally Zerg is going to be able to sort of push back and say, hey, get off my lawn. But it's a little bit too late for that. The 4th base did go down. We saw a lot of drones going down as well. And ZEST has sort of put himself back in the game, I would say. I would say earlier he was not really looking favored, and now he's, on a bit more even footing. Now, of course, his opponent Dark is getting adrenal glands and +3 melee actually, so very nice hive tech. But that was a very interesting attack. I'm not really sure what to make of that.
Yeah, I think ZEST actually had set up a nice little sandwich onto the, because the charge lot actually was coming to the on the left side, and there was no banelings to speak of to help defend against those charge lot. So it did catch Dark a little off guard, and Zest was able to take out the fourth base, which does even up the base count, which is really nice. So yeah, I do like, you know, kind of the maneuvering of Zest there. Has been able to get himself back, I would say slightly ahead actually in this game so far.
Yeah, I agree. Now, is this Void Ray, this is the question, is this Void Ray going to get the spawning pool kill? It actually does! And Zest, the madman himself, actually gets the kill on the spawning pool before Adrenal Glands can finish. So, of course, that crucial upgrade for the Lings being denied. Now, we do see a pretty big Ling counterattack run by actually finding a lot of damage in the Protoss's natural, sort of taking down that wall. And these charge lot warpins are not going to be enough. Now Zest is across the map, so he is in a bit of an all-in position now that 22 of his folks have gone down. But these Stalkers are going to push forward along with their Archon brethren and their charge lots as well. So can the Protoss push through? That is the question here.
Oh, I do like how Zest is trying to segment off these Zerg units to the left and to the right, which means that some of these reinforcements are going to be spawning into their deaths. But is there enough here on the ground? Oh, 3 Ultralisks coming out here for Dark. That might actually be the game changer or the momentum swinger right here.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. Now, Zest confident enough to actually warp in another set of charge lots, and of course this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And GG is called. Zest takes game number 1.
Welcome back to game number 2. Going to be on Beckett Industries. And spawning here at the top right, we got our red Protoss, who's up 1-0, looking to extend his lead. Can he do it? It is Zest.
That's right, and his teammate in the bottom left corner of the map, playing as the Blue Zerg, also from the same team as Zest, Dragon Phoenix Gaming, going for that quick spawning pool. Can he tie up this series? It is Dark.
Alright, Beckett Industries, the shortest map of them all, and the Dark is taking full advantage of it by going for that quick spawning pool. Now the question is, will he pull the drones as well? We have seen Zerg players not only go for the fast pull and fast Lings, but also pull the drones and try to get the surround onto the Zealot in the wall. But the question is, will he do it? I don't think he will, just because this probe is here, and that's going to be scouted really early, and it's really easy to...
Oh. Sorry, go ahead. I just saw that proxy hatch going down, so yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really easy to wall out the drones. Just got to do a complete wall off, so yeah, no drones are being pulled, but hey, like you said, proxy hatchery here.
Yeah, I like that move a lot, right? Sort of forcing Zest to put down the, you know, first and second Zealots, also the Forge up in the front to complete the wall and to help with early game defense. Now, probes are pulled off the line, so can these Lings do damage, or can Zest defend successfully? Now, that proxy hatch is going to go up successfully, I believe. And that gateway is actually getting very low in health, as we do see a very, very cute micro from the Lings. Now, the Lings are going to have to back off as that second Zealot does finish up. We do see a cannon on the low ground as well. So I'm not too sure how this plays out, because a proxy hatch is about to finish, but of course we do see a lot here to defend from the red Protoss.
Yeah, cannon does complete, and that's going to really help in the defense. Makes it much more harder for the Zerg to get anything done, and it also helps with killing the hatchery a bit quicker. So less larvae being spawned here to turn them to Lings. And those two adepts as well. I'm gonna go ahead and shade out. Will he let them complete, or will he stick them at home? Looks like he will stick them at home.
Oh, now is that... Oh, the hatchery. I'm gonna just call it the hatchery. The hatchery actually did get the kill on the charge lot. No, I'm just kidding. But it did. Of course, all Zerg buildings, when they die, they despawn. the broodlings, and so timed life broodlings, and so those broodlings did actually get the kill on the charge lot. So tiny little victory for our Zerg, but of course not really enough, in my opinion, to justify a proxy hatch. Now the proxy hatch was there to sort of dictate the pacing of the game, which is a very good move. To sort of force ZEST to respond in a specific way. Now, these two adepts are actually going to find some damage here in the Zerg's main, getting 4 kills so far for 2 adepts, which is very nice. This last adept is not going to be able to find its way out of there, killed off by the Lings just in time before its shade completes. But 4 drone kills this early into the game, I would say that's an excellent trade.
I would say so too. I mean, you got to remember, Dark went for the early pool, so he cut off a drone production in favor of those Lings, so he was a bit behind in the drone count to start off with, and then to furthermore lose 4 more drones, that is not what you want. And ZEST has put himself in a pretty decent position. He does have the worker lead. He's got the Nexus coming up, and most importantly, the Zerg's tech is going to be slow, because what do you don't see on the field right now? Gas for the Zerg, which means his tech is going to be so late. His layer is going to be so late as well. I think ZEST is in a quite commanding position.
Yeah, no, that is an excellent point that you bring up, Snoopy. I actually did not notice until you just mentioned, but yeah, you're right. No gases have been taken. Okay, just now Dark does take 2 gases, so he is looking to sort of compensate for the quote-unquote loss in Vespian gas earlier in the game. Now, he is taking a 3rd base, but of course, we do see that his red Protoss opponent, ZEST, has actually completed a Stargate and a Void Ray. So, of course, this is just going to be a single defensive Void Ray, taking care of that pesky Overlord in the front, as he does follow up with the Twilight Council. And I do like that follow-up. It's kind of like, as soon as you sort of show your hand in that way, showing, hey, I do have a Void Ray, then the Zerg knows, and any competent Zerg should be able to hold off potential Stargate play. So what do you do as the Protoss? You can follow up really quickly with Twilight Council. And so that could be the move here. We do see the Glaive Adepts upgrade coming up from ZEST. So potential for a lot of damage, as of course he has already shown that he's committed to harassing Adepts. So we will have to wait and see how these Glaive Adepts deal their damage.
Yeah, looks like the Glaive upgrade is halfway done. You should see a move out pretty soon. In the meantime, ZEST not all in with it. Gonna go ahead and plot down that 3rd base, and then in the meantime harass with the Void Ray as well. It doesn't get too much done, but again, it does force the Spore Crawlers for Dark, which means additional drones are being sacrificed. And at this point, he doesn't want to sacrifice too many drones. He has done a nice job catching up, although on the drone count, so gotta give him props for that.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's pretty difficult to try to catch up, or more difficult as the other races to catch up, simply because of how their macro mechanics work. But Zerg, of course, can just hold down the drone key. Very nice. I recommend it if you ever try it. But we do see these Adepts trying to come up the ramp. They are actually going to get up the ramp without a problem, and they're going to do a very short shade. That's one of the shortest shades I've ever seen in my life. But they are actually going to take out 8 drones for their troubles, and no Warp Prism required. They are actually just going to find some free damage here. They are actually going to be able to take out a Queen, possibly as well. Yep, there we go, Queen kill. They are actually going to shade on out of there. So keeping all of the Adepts alive and getting a Queen plus 8 drones, I would say that's pretty good, forcing out a lot of units from the Zerg as well. So obviously that is a larva that is could have been put into drones, that has not been able to be put into drones. Hold that thought. Okay, I thought that Adept Shade was going to finish as well and try to get some more damage, but of course it looks like Dark has stabilized for now. But yeah, 8 drones, that was pretty nice. So of course we do see ZEST taking the worker lead for now.
Yeah, pretty nice. But I feel like he could have actually gotten more. I feel like he could have actually shaded into the main instead of trying to hang out into the natural. I mean, the distances between the bases are large, so I think he could have actually kept up with the pressure by going to the main and then going back into the natural. But instead, he canceled the shade and just was fighting a lot of units of Dark. And but the good thing is that he does save all these adepts, so at the very least, it's not a total waste. And you know, losing a few adepts for 8 drones, that in all is a pretty. I think ZEST will be happy with that.
Yeah, I agree. Now, keeping those adepts alive is very important. It's sort of like a deterrent against other things that the Zerg could try, you know, for example, Ling Run buys. And also, as we did see earlier, we did see a bit of a cheeky Shade trying to go up into the main, just sort of keeping Dark on his toes, making sure that he is not missing a beat with his micro, because of course that could be a very punishing move if he does not stay on top of it. For example, right now he does see another Shade into his third. ZEST not gonna complete the Shade, but he does follow up with he has been following up, excuse me, with these 4 Void Rays sort of trying to harass elsewhere. Now we do see a Fleet Beacon follow up as well as an additional Stargate. That's gonna go up to a total of 3 Stargates. And he is pumping out those carriers off of 3 bases. I do like where this is headed. Now, of course, Dark going for a bit more traditional response against the Stargate play as the Zerg, going for the Hydras, whereas in the quarterfinals, we did see Solar choosing to go for, what was it? It was a Spire against his Protoss opponent. So Hydras, of course, good against Void Rays and whatnot, but not necessarily good against carriers if you allow the Protoss to get them up to significant numbers. So
yeah, I mean,
it does look like we're going to go into the later stages of the game here.
Yeah, and considering the fact that this is a small map, you know, the immobility of carriers, because they are quite slow, it does work out in favor of the Protoss. You know, if you're going against a Zerg player with carriers and you're like building up the carry count, this is not the worst map to go for it. I mean, this is actually the best map, probably. There's, of course, the acceleration zone, so you can even go fly quicker across the map. But even without the acceleration zones, you know, you're basically knocking at your opponent's door very, in a matter of seconds. But in the meantime, it looks like Dark is ready to go for an attack before the carry count gets too crazy. But oh man, that does have that crucial disruptors. If you can get that disruptor hit on those Hydralisks.
Okay, does get a couple of Ravagers. A decent start, you know, not the best, not the worst. But of course, these carriers do deal consistent damage on the Roaches. Now, these Hydras are in the back, sort of dealing consistent DPS themselves as well. Now, we do see Shield Battery Overcharge being popped. Of course, the Shield Battery itself was also popped by the Roaches and the Ravagers. But yeah, I like this move from both players, just sort of testing the waters. Now, of course, like you said, these carriers are basically on top of the Zerg's 4th base. Now, funnily enough, both players going for 4th bases that are actually right next to each other. And so, of course, Dark just about to realize that when he did push forward with the Roaches, Ravagers, and Hydras. I don't think that ZEST actually knows about this 4th base location, so he is not going to push forward. He's just going to sit back a little bit passively, which, you know, as a maxed out Protoss with carriers, that is a pretty nice move to make. He does have those 3 disruptors on the ground as well. And it's sort of reached the point where the Adepts are outliving their usefulness, which is, you know, always nice because you can keep them around to shade forward, to try to deal some harass damage, and also to shade and deal some, and try to scout what the army is. Now, we did see that earlier in the first engagement, but this is the next one. So we are going to see the Hydras in the back line trying to deal with those interceptors, and a lot of Roaches dying up front. So, you know, as the Zerg, I don't think you really want Hydras and Roaches against a borderline sort of half Sky Toss, half ground Protoss army. So, you know, not trading as well as he would like, but he's going very, very heavily into the Hydra tech.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, those disruptor hits in that engagement, absolutely horrible. Wasn't the greatest, but hopefully you get better shots next time around. In the meantime, though, it's just so funny how like both fourth bases are just next to each other.
Yeah, definitely. Now we do see a bit of a half surround from the Zerg. Again, the interceptors are being sent out by the carriers. but that is not necessarily what you want to do as the Protoss. Now, more interceptors are coming out, so the carries are going to commit. These Hydras in the backline are dealing pretty good damage on the interceptors. The Roaches in the front doing their job, really tanking for the Hydras in the back. And we do see Vipers on the production tab, so you know there is potential for this Roach Hydra army to start dealing more very specific damage to the Protoss army. You know, potentially able to yoink some of the carriers out of the way, which is what I personally would like to see. Obviously, there is the potential for blinding clouds, but as we do see the Blink upgrade finishing up, I don't think that's going to be the case. Now, they are going to move up the ramp. Ooh, that Disruptor actually does get picked off before it can deal any sort of damage. So, it's going to live a very sad, unfulfilling life, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, indeed. But here we go. Looks like ZEST is going to go ahead and be committed to taking down this base. Still a lot of Hydralisks on the field, and they actually have a nice upgrade. +2, +1 armor as well. But look at here. Adepts shading into natural, getting 16 drone kills. And it looks like, slowly but surely, ZEST is picking Dark apart.
Yeah, keeping those Adepts alive. And I really ate my words. It's the Caster's Curse, you know? These Adepts did not, in fact, outlive their usefulness. Finding almost 20 drones here in the mid to the late game. We saw a very funny moment where the Adepts were shading into the natural, and the Vipers were, you know, sucking up energy from, I believe, the hatchery, and all they could do was look on in sadness as they knew what was about to happen, but they could not do anything about it. So.
Yeah, and it's pretty, I guess, interesting because you normally would not see Adepts being used at this stage of the game at the 15-minute mark. They're kind of like Reapers, where you make them maybe in the early game, but you don't really make them in like the mid to late game. So to see the Adepts still manage to live through the 15-minute mark and get a lot of drones still, good news for ZEST. And now Dark is kind of reeling, trying to produce those drones back, but he has to make a decision whether to make army or drones at the same at this time, because ZEST still has a powerful army knocking at the door. Once again, Adept here. Once again.
Oh man, these Adepts are just, you know, kudos to ZEST for being able to find the room, the APM, to send out two, not one, but two separate Adept parties. Now, these Lings are going to be caught a bit off guard as the main Protoss army was actually pretty close by. But yeah, this is a bit of an awkward position for our Blue Zerg, because of course he not only is behind on drones, but he arguably has a weaker army here in the late game. Now, we do see Storm being used, multiple forms of splash damage supplementing the very, very powerful carriers. So it looks like ZEST is going to feel confident enough. Oh, and very nice force fields, actually. So he did sort of locate where the main Zerg army was and sort of cordon them off with a bunch of very nice force fields, and he is moving forward to the third base. At the same time, he is taking damage at his fifth, but that does not really matter as much because his main army is knocking on the door of Dark. He is smelling blood, and he's going for the kill right now.
Yeah, we did have a base trade in the previous game. Now we're having another one. Let's see who can win out this base trade. Looks like, I mean, ZEST does have much more army, and he does have a. He does have the stronger army. So if he can recall, maybe he can protect one of his bases. But he's gonna have to do it soon because he only has 2 nexuses left over.
Yeah, wow. Actually, that that Zerg army was very, very efficient with its time, just taking out so many bases. The natural 4 Protoss has been evacuated as well, and of course we do see some Banelings leaking into the main. But at the same time, Dark's own main has been completely taken out, so all that he has left are his expansions, while of course the Protoss has just his main left. So this is a very awkward base race because both players have taken significant amounts of damage, but one of them has kept his main and lost everything else, whereas the other one has, you know, lost his main and kept all of his expansions. So I'm not actually sure who's on top right now, I would say that ZEST is probably favored in this scenario because he does have the higher tech army. And of course, ZEST agrees. He is actually going to push forward with the carriers and all of that. And that one observer, that one Chad observer, giving Protoss vision of the lurkers on the ground. So it does look like this is going to come to a scrappy end as the Hydras are going to move forward and take down a couple of carriers. Are they going to be enough? Oh my gosh, what?
Oh my goodness, I think the observer was actually a bit towards to the right. Those lurkers got so much damage done and pretty much cleaned out the entire ground army of ZEST, leaving only the carriers left over for the Hydras to snipe off. And now, all of a sudden, oh my god, what seemed like a game that ZEST should have won has turned into a game that now is Dark's game to lose.
Wow, that was an insane engagement. I really ate my words that time because, of course, we did see the Protoss moving forward very, very confidently. And like you said, I agree. I think that Observer was a little bit out of position because those Lurkers got one too many shots in. And then the Hydras were able to move forward and pick off carrier after carrier. There is a point where you don't have enough Hydras to actually fight the Interceptors, but you do have enough Hydras to pick off individual carriers. Now, these High Templar are very scary. A decent storm going off. Actually, feedback's being used on the Queens, which of course at this point in the game, at such a scrappy stage, is quite important. We do see one of the Archons being popped. Some charge loss moving forward. So, oh no! These storms are really, really good, but of course the lurkers in the back line dealing very, very good damage. And like you said, it looked earlier like ZEST should have been able, but GG is called. Dark takes game number 2.
Alright, we are back for game number 3. Going to be on Lightshade. And here at the top left, playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. He is best. He is ZEST.
That's right. And his opponent and teammate as well, spawning in the bottom right corner of the map, playing as the blue Zerg. It is Dark. ZEST is best. Now, ZEST was definitely not best in that last game, taking a very interesting engagement when it came down to that base trade, and then, of course, shoving forward with the carriers and losing them all to the Hydras. Man, I don't even know what went wrong. It all went by so fast, and I'm not sure I really understood what happened there.
Yeah, it seems like this series, this entire series, at least the first 2 games between these 2 guys, has been absolutely insane. One moment you think one person has the game, another moment the other person has the game. Like, it's very back and forth thus far, and has been a really great series. Of course, this is a best of 5, so plenty of more games to be played. The first player to win 3 games will win the finals here and take home the bulk of the prize pool.
Yep, that's right. That means we have at least 2 more games to go before either player can, get 3 maps out of the 5. But it looks to be pretty standard here in game number 3. We see we actually see a quick third hatch coming out from Dark before the second hatch even pops, before the spawning pool is finished, or around the same time that the spawning pool is finished. So basically what happens here is, instead of dumping 300 minerals into 2 queens, you dump 300 minerals into that quick third. Of course, taken at the natural base location, because the probe, I assume the probe blocked the natural earlier, and so Dark was forced to take the triangle third base location as his natural instead. ZEST, on the other hand, going for that Stargate play, so nothing out of the ordinary here for him as well.
Yeah, so it looks like Dark is choosing for a more eco kind of build, and ZEST, I guess pretty standard. Now, it'll be interesting to see if he does make the Oracle or the Void Ray. Now, of course, he does see the Overlord hanging out and chilling at the natural, so he might want to make a Void Ray. But he could have, yeah, it looks like he was making a Void Ray. But he could have very well made an Oracle, considering the fact that there's going to be less queens out on the field because, as you mentioned, he bypassed the initial queens to get that earlier hatchery. So would have been good either way. I mean, Void Ray, you can get the Overlord snipe and prevent scouting. If he went for the Oracle, he could have gotten some decent drone kills, I would say.
I agree. I definitely agree with you there. Now we did see at 1.3 queens being produced at a time. A bit of an uncharacteristic supply block from Dark earlier. He was stuck at 42 out of 42, and so he had to make 2 or 3 Overlords. Also accounting for the fact that the Void Ray was going to kill the first one. Now we do see a very quick Nexus going down before the 4-minute mark from ZEST. So both players have identified that, ZEST has identified that Dark is going for, like you said, a more macro-focused build with that quick third, and so has decided to do the same himself. And we did see that he was quite successful with that in game number 1, as he went for that pretty interesting, I'm not sure if I would call it an off timing, but he just, an interesting timing. Of course, with that very nice saturation of 3 base eco, and then trying to shove forward with the sentry-based army, which did not really work out in the first wave, but he did have some nice follow-ups.
Well, looks like so far Dark has yet to scout the dirt base of ZEST, and it looks like he's creeping towards the left side, which unfortunately for him is not where ZEST has expanded to. I think he probably would have wanted to spread into the middle instead, but nonetheless we do have that Queen Roach Ravager push, sprinkled with some lings as well, and ZEST, he's got note of this, will start throwing down all those cannon and shield batteries. However, are they going to be up in time?
Yeah, this is a really dicey position for ZEST because, of course, I was also thrown off guard by that early third, and then now we see a bunch of queens, we see a bunch of Ravagers here knocking on ZEST's door. Now, are these queens going to be enough? I think they are going to be enough to hold off these the air army. Now, these lings are going to really struggle to find their way inside as the shield battery overcharge is popped. That shield battery does go down, so now it's just the Ravagers and lings on the ground to face off against 0 Zealots instead. 1 cheeky Ravager being morphed in right on top of everything. These Void Rays have been dealing pretty decent damage, but of course they are not able to contend with the queens on the ground. So can Zerg push through? It looks like he will be able to bust through. He has busted down the natural wall, and the lings are flooding in. They are taking down a bunch of probes, or starting to take down a bunch of probes at the natural, and it looks like a quick end to game number 3. I don't think ZEST is going to be able to, come out of this one alive.
Yeah, I mean, this build, the Void Ray build, not the greatest on this map as it is a short map. And the GG, Dark, gets the series lead. Alright, without further ado, here at the top right, playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, down 1-2, looking to type the series and push it to a decisive 5th game. Can he do it? Give it up for ZEST.
That's right, and his opponent as well as teammate in the bottom left corner of the map, playing as the Blue Zerg, picking up 2 games in a row in this best of 5. Can he close it out right here, right now? It is Dark.
Now, of course, that last game, not the greatest for ZEST in terms of build orders. I feel like, the two Stargate Void Ray play opening build is better suited on a map where, first of all, that is not short in distance, short in distance, and then also that has I guess a kind of a zigzaggy kind of pathway instead of a straightforward pathway. And kind of like let's say Romanticide, or no, actually not Romanticide, or some other map that has a bit more obstacles. The Lightshade map, besides Beckett Industries, Light Shade is one of those maps that is really short in distance, and so the queen push is just so devastating. As you can see in that last game, like by the time the army of Dark reached ZEST base, like the shield batteries and cannons weren't even done yet. So, and he only had like very few units, and so yeah, not the greatest build order from ZEST on that specific map, I feel.
Yeah, that is a good point that you bring up, Snoopy. Now, at the same time, I believe both Lightshade and Beckett Industries, correct me if I'm wrong, but they both have speed zones, making it even easier for aggressive plays to happen. Because, of course, the attacking army can just zoom across the map. Now, we do see a Stargate coming up from ZEST in this game as well, so nothing too out of the ordinary. But yeah, that last game it felt, you know, as the Protoss, it kind of felt a little bit helpless, right? Like, what do you do in that situation? You have some Void Rays, but, you know, 6 queens or however many queens against 4 Void Rays. You need to be ahead on the Void Ray count, I feel, in order to decisively engage the queens, because of course they have the potential for transfuse and whatnot. And then after that, only after you take care of the queens are you able to follow up and take care of the Ravagers and the Lings on the ground. And even then, that's all assuming that you hold the wall, which of course was busted down, that kind of thing. So pretty difficult, and hopefully ZEST will be able to, like you said, tie up the series here.
Yeah, now, you know, the Void Ray build, it used to be very difficult to hold. Zerg had a lot of difficulty against it, along with like the proxy Void Ray against Terran players. But over time, like, Terran players has found a way to deal with it, and similar with Zerg. Zerg has been able to find a way to deal with it, and in the last game, as you can see, Zerg has found a very effective way actually to deal with it, to the point where it can make the Protoss look very helpless, as you mentioned. But if the Protoss can prepare in time, well ahead of time, and have the shield batteries and cannons up and running, even though it's still a difficult hold, like, all in all, I think it's holdable, but it's very, very difficult to hold nonetheless.
Yep, for sure. Now, we do see a second Stargate going down for ZEST, so it looks like he's not going to really change things up here in game number 4. Now, Sporecrawler is already in position to shoo away this Oracle, so going to get a single drone kill, I believe, but not much else. So, yeah, I guess, you know, as the inexperienced Protoss that I am, I'm completely joking, I mean, I guess the solution would be to make queens cost gas as well, right? I mean, they transfuse, they have creep, it is absolutely busted, and they do way too much to cost only minerals. But anyways, so we see the Oracle getting that tag off in the main, seeing that a layer is coming up, actually not quite getting the Evo chamber in the tag. Not that that's the most important thing to scout out, because, you know, at this point you kind of expect an Evo chamber. But yeah, pretty decent tag. We are going to see that double Stargate Void Ray play coming up, so ZEST is not really, you know, expecting a similar push as last game, as of course we do see Dark going for that 4th base as well.
Yeah, I mean, ZEST making sure with that Oracle, with the Revelation, just keeping tabs on the Zerg and seeing what he's doing, recognizing that, yeah, it's not going to be the same response as the last game. And interestingly enough, ZEST actually going for +1 air upgrade, so he is actually committed to these Void Rays, and gonna actually throw down a robotics facility behind it as well. So yeah, it looks like he's gonna build up the Void Ray count to a decent amount, but not go like full on 100% air. He is gonna probably mix it up with maybe disruptors and try to transition into carriers as well, because carriers with disruptors is quite a difficult army to deal with, because you have the Hydros on the ground to deal with the carriers, but the disruptors can actually kill those Hydrolists or segment them off and zone them out. And the same thing applies to the queens. Queens can attack air, but And they kind of tank a lot of the carriers' interceptors while they transfuse each other. But if you can disruptor hit those queens because they're clumped up, then you have a lot less queens. And the thing with queens is they're not the fastest unit, so you can't really split them. So they usually clump up in the end either way. So disruptors with carriers, I love that combo.
Yeah, no, that is. It sounds like a dream come to me, really. You know, and as the Zerg, it's very difficult to deal with carriers. Well, you know, if you're not Dark, it's very difficult to deal with carriers, and dealing with disruptors can also prove to be difficult as well. Now, of course, you know, if you watch Code S, if you watch any of those very, very tippy top tier games, these players make it look so easy to deal with disruptors. Just split, you know, just be better. But like you said, with a composition that might be queen based, it's very difficult. Now, of course, that is not necessarily what Zerg is going for in this game. It looks like they're going to go pretty heavy into Hydras, and Hydras on creep. Yes, I will say that it is, you know, a little bit easier to split against disruptors. But of course, while you're splitting, that is time spent not dealing damage. That is time spent taking damage from interceptors and void rays and whatnot. So like you said, I think that I agree with you. I think disruptors are the right call here. I don't think we see a fleet beacon just yet, but I have no doubt that. Oh no, we actually do have one completed. That's my bad. So we're just gonna have to wait and see when Protoss. Yep, there we go. So we see a couple of carriers started up, and a Hydra-only army against disruptors and carriers at the same time. I don't know about that. You know, you definitely need Vipers to deal with that. You need to get all the way up to the highest of high tech in order to trade reasonably against that kind of high tech army. So
it looks like Dark is starting to transition to those high tech units that you are talking about. Getting that infestation pit, gonna probably go morph that layer into the hive, and then start getting those Vipers out. And also, you know, get those possibly get those infestors upgrade as well. On the meantime, the carriers are starting to be made. The first initial 3 are about to pop out, and ZEST gonna go ahead and start establishing his 4th base. And it's gonna be important because, you know, when you go full on air like this as a Protoss, you need those gas to power up those to produce those carriers. So getting that additional 7th and 8th gas, really crucial.
Yeah, definitely. I'm honestly surprised that ZEST was able to get out. How many carriers is that? A total of 4 right now are out on the field, or 3? I cannot count.
Yeah, 3.
We only see 3 on the field. For some reason, I saw 4, but that was just a clump of void rays. Sorry, all Protoss air units look alike to me. Anyways, so we do see a pretty nice run by. We see some banelings busting down that wall. The lings are going to try to come in here, but of course that main Sky Toss army is going to come back here and defend against these Hydras. And that is a lot of lings, which is great against, you know, disruptors because they have very quick speed, so they're not going to be able to be taken out by those disruptors so easily. Now banelings are going to find pretty decent connections. We do see a bit of a juke out from the Zerg coming out here, actually able to corral these probes and out micro them. So very well played by Zerg to sort of keep the eco down and out for the Protoss. Taking out almost 20 drones here, actually. Very well played. So, you know, this is sort of what you want to do as the Zerg, just to sort of keep the Protoss back. But of course, ZEST, identifying that that was a very low-tech army, and that was possibly all that Zerg had, gonna shove forward as well. Now, these lings are gonna get a very decent surround on the ground army, and of course, disruptors in the back not able to find, sort of whiffing on the connections, and it's all down to the carriers to deal the damage. Now, can they deal enough? I'm not so sure about this anymore for either player, really. It looks like the majority of the Hydras are going to go down, but we are going to see some reinforcements coming out for the Zerg shortly.
Yeah, that might have been a huge blunder there for Dark. I mean, it looked promising in the beginning, but those interceptors, man, got +1 upgrades, and they were able to take out a lot of those units, those ground units, and Dark army supply not looking really good against what ZEST has right now. There's still 5 carriers here out on the field. These void rays can can also soak up some damage as well and deal out some damage. And oh man, this is, I mean, overall supply is pretty close, but it seems like with Carrier still alive and the Hydralisk number dwindling, I think it's gonna snowball here for ZEST very soon.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like that is the case, because not a single one of these carriers has fallen. Not a single one of these Void Rays has fallen either, and of course that means that they are continuing to get value, whereas the Hydras are dying consistently. So, GG is called. ZEST takes this game.
And here we are for the 5th and decisive game in this finals. Let's see who will come out as our champion of the ESL Open Cup, number 76 Korea. Here we go, spawning at the bottom left. He's playing as our red Protoss from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Give it up for ZEST.
And his opponent in the bottom right corner of the map, also playing for the team Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Can he do it? It is Dark.
So, something that I actually noticed is that I believe Dragon Phoenix Gaming forces their players, or asks their players, to put the DPG sign in front of their name. Now, usually, you know, other teams will of course just leave it to the clan tag, but it seems like they just want their players to just have that DPG at the beginning of their name.
Yeah, I do find that a little bit interesting. But of course, you know, it guarantees branding. Whereas some players might join random clans, join meme clans, or simply clans with friends. Here, it guarantees, like, hey, my name is Dragon Phoenix Gaming Dark, you know?
Yeah.
My game is Dragon Phoenix Gaming ZEST.
That's true.
I mean, very direct branding.
Yeah, because I've seen like other Korean players who's on specific teams, but they're have their clan as into the clan tag there. So I guess, you know, and then of course we see that's not actually in the that doesn't have the clan tag, so you just put the clan tag in front of his name. So I guess that makes sense. Although I do find it pretty interesting, because usually other teams will just leave it for the, you know, just have them join the clan, and then, you know, they automatically have the clan tag. So
right. Don't worry, Snoopy. I will never leave the Alpha X clan. That will always be in my name. So I got you.
Good to know.
All right. So it looks like, you know, pretty standard openings from both of our players. We do see Dark going for that quick third base at the natural location as well. And of course for ZEST, not deviating once again, going for that Stargate opener. So, you know, pretty likely, yeah, he's got it rallied on the Overlord, so pretty safe bet that he's going to go Void Ray first, and then possibly Oracle after. Oracle, of course, very useful for pretty much everything, you know? Opening, harass, scouting, consistent scouting. Just a very useful unit all around.
Yeah, for sure. They're one of those units that is good in the late game, mid game, and early game. So as long as you have them around, you can always get stuff done with them. Whether it's killing those drones at the mineral line with the pulsar beams, maybe planting down stasis traps out in the field, or even in the mineral line of the Zerg, or of course the Revelation to get the scouting information.
Now, of course, we did see in one of the games earlier where it went pretty long, I think past the 20-minute mark. ZEST made very good use of Adepts in the late game, you know, really catching Dark off guard. Dark was unable to contend with, you know, I think it was like 10, 8, or maybe even a dozen Adepts, and just massacred a couple of mineral lines in the middle of some pretty crucial engagements. So that was a pretty unique use of Adepts that we don't really see. So sort of the polar opposite of Oracles in that sense, because like you said, Oracles are well known for their usefulness at pretty much all stages in the game, for their versatility. Adepts are not known for that, and ZEST was able to make that work. So I'm excited to see what we're gonna see in this game number 5 of this best of 5 series. You know, anything is up for grabs, really. I think, here for the last game.
Yeah, so far this Oracle does take down 2 drones. Not the greatest, but it still stays alive, so that's the most important thing. He can dive in there later on. Maybe looks like he wants to prepare for a stasis ward into the mineral line at one point. But of course, in the meantime, just gonna establish his third base, get all those production. As you can see, him throwing down all these tech buildings. Twilight Cancel, Forge, another Stargate, even getting that +1 upgrade on the air weapons. So yeah, he is just going full on tech.
Yeah, this looks a lot like last game where we saw that ZEST was going pretty heavy into air units, right? We've got 2 Stargates, which, you know, we've seen a lot in this series, but also, like you said, we did see that +1 air attack, and so that came in pretty clutch last game. So, you know, if it's not broken, no need to fix it. On the other hand, we do see Zerg going for that gold base. I do like that move a lot, you know. One way to deal with the Protoss is to outbreed them, not necessarily to attack them outright. And we do see the Roaches follow up as well. Now, I don't see a Hydrogen on the way. Oh, well, obviously that's because the layer is not finished. Getting a bit ahead of myself right now.
Yeah, the layer is about to be done, so you might see the Hydros then coming down soon, but in the meantime, I think he's gonna just stick with a bunch of Roaches and Lings just to make sure he's safe against anything. Although ZEST is going for that Void Ray build once again, the 2 Stargate, but not actually committing a lot of Void Rays, interestingly enough, and instead throwing down a whole slew of gateways. So it looks looking much like ZEST wants to make a timing attack, maybe. Oh, actually loses that Oracle.
Oh wow. It did get the last tag off, but of course it is not going to live to tell any more tales back home. Now, that High Templar archive is very interesting to me. What do you make of that? I feel like it means that we're going to see a Charge Lot Archon Void Ray attack.
Oh yeah.
It sounds really, really powerful. I mean, we see even more gates going down. Oh my gosh, ZEST, the madman himself. That War Prism is done. Going to pick up those Archons as soon as they finish. And then, of course, he's going to move right across the map. Now, can Dark defend this? He is working on those upgrades, and he is actually getting Pathogen Glands. I believe that's the upgrade for Infestor Energy. So I don't think it's going to be finished in time for this Void Ray timing attack, however. So it's going to be up to the Zerg to defend. He is making a bunch of Lings and a bunch of Roaches as well, getting that Bane speed. But here we go. ZEST is moving very aggressively on creep, so he is going to see that that 4th base is quite vulnerable, put it out of position, and he's just going to go ahead and warp in right on location. These Void Rays are going to deal a lot of damage. Not enough Queens, not nearly enough Queens so far on site yet, just to, you know, contend with these Void Rays. So they are going to deal a decent amount of damage to the Roaches in front. Another warping of Charge Lots as the first wave did die. The Archons were popped, but 11 workers have gone down. The 4th base, the gold base, has gone down as well. And so far, ZEST has dealt some economic damage. Now, I'm not sure if this was actually worth it. What do you think, Snoopy? Was that actually worth the pretty heavy investment in Archons and Charge Lots?
I don't think so. Only because I feel like ZEST, man, he should have waited. When you go for a big power move like this, where you throw down a bunch of gateways, you need to make use of the mass warpins. So with him just going in with that small army of a few Void Rays and not a lot of ground units, he was able, even though he was able to warp in later during the fight, he was basically engaging with not the full max of his army that he could have gotten. So you know, like, it's very similar to like when the Protoss go for like a mass Charge Lot timing attack. You don't want to engage when you only have like the first initial like 8 Charge Lot. You want to engage once you have like another another warping of 8 more, and then possibly even another another warping of 8 more. So, you know, the numbers go in favor. You know, numbers go heavily in favor to you. So I don't like how ZEST engaged in that engagement.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with you, Snoopy, on that, because actually we did see earlier that he was floating quite a bit in minerals, and only just now was he able to sort of, dip back under 1,000 minerals because he put down that fourth base nexus as well. But yeah, earlier it kind of felt like he was jumping the gun. Like he did warp in on location, so he did get off a pretty decent warp in. But of course, Dark was able to finally hold after sacrificing his failing to defend his gold base. But, just one more warp in. Imagine the kind of damage that could have done with 8 more charge lots. I feel like 8 more charge lots in that scenario would have done a lot better against the ragtag group of roaches and queens that were actually left.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? At least he did get the hatchery snipe on the gold base, which does delay the mining of Dark. Let's bring up the income graph here. So you see a little bump here for ZEST, but again, the Dark's economy was already very healthy with the drone count, so he's coming up on the graph once more. And but you know what? ZEST has actually made a really decent, strong army here. A lot of storm energy, and this could actually be very troublesome for Dark to face.
Yeah, that is 8 High Templar, all with basically full energy. Now, we do see the third of many, many storms popping. Of course, the charge lots to the north are going to possibly find damage. At the same time, a huge Baneling run by at the third Nexus does take down 18 probes, so this is pretty dicey for both players. Of course, the charge lots are not going to commit to harass. Instead, they're going to meet up with the main army, and this is so many High Templars, so many storms. Even the Ultras are getting transfused, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to find any sort of damage on this main Protoss army. We do see supply dipping for both players, and as the Zerg, if you're even on supply on Roaches, that means that you're behind, and these Ultras are not able to find, the angle that they want to engage in. Now, we do see a pretty big loss with the third hatchery going down, as well as 8 drones. Self-storms going down on the Stalkers, funnily enough, just to make sure that the Zerglings cannot do any sort of damage. But here is the tipping point. ZEST, it looks like he's done it. He is taking the supply lead. He's going to do a small recall of Void Rays only, but he's taking down base after base, and it doesn't look like he's stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, right now, it's not even about the economy at this point. It's just making sure that you have the better army at the end, because at this point, ZEST just like basically, Dark has like doubled the amount of drones that ZEST has, and right now it's just really going to come down to the army. Now there was a recall, so ZEST can't recall anymore with his main army. He needs to go for the kill with his main army and try to defend with the rest. But look at this, Void Ray doing nice work on these Ultralisks. These Ultralisks is not able to go into the natural. First of all, through that choke, as well as face up against the Void Ray. And here we go, ZEST and go ahead into the natural and look for the finishing blow.
Oh man, drones are pulled off the line at the natural. Now these High Templar are still here with basically full energy. A very nice blink on top of that last Ultralisk is going to take it out and say goodbye, good night. Now we do see Dark did already put down a cheeky top left corner base just to make sure that he has something in this event of a base. But again, ZEST took the supply lead earlier, and it doesn't look like he's going to be giving it up anytime soon, right? Ultras on their own are decent, but not the best. You need links to buffer, and of course, Ultras on their own, facing off against Blink, being spawned on top of Blink Stalkers is not what we want. We do see additional storms going down, actually making sure that the Overlords are also killed as well. Hive is sniped, and it looks like ZEST might have done it. Now we do see a pretty nice sort of run by at his natural base, so these lings are, but GG is called, actually, excuse me. ZEST takes the final series.